We're learning about a security scare outside the White House Saturday afternoon. Mark Albert is there for us now. Mark, what do we know?
Jamie, just after 1 o'clock, the Secret Service noticed a man walking on Pennsylvania Avenue just right out here in the northeast corner of the White House wearing a mask and carrying a gun in a holster. When they confronted him, a struggle ensued. They took him down and placed him under arrest. He is being charged with committing a crime while wearing that mask, firearm without a license, carrying unregistered ammunition, and resisting arrest. Now, we don't know what this mask was, but just about an hour before this incident, just south of the White House, there had been a Million Mask March, and that is held on November 5th, which is Guy Fawkes Day. Guy Fawkes was an activist, a revolutionary 400 years ago in Great Britain who tried to blow up Parliament. These days, some Occupy protesters and other activists have adopted that mantle to protest the government. But again, we don't know what mask this man was wearing. President Obama was not here at the White House at the time. He was golfing in Maryland, and the lockdown was lifted by the time he returned. Jamie?
Mark, I do know we are in a heightened sense of security right now. We've had some of these terrorist threats that have come out ahead of the election. Did it seem like it was a very speedy response, or were people concerned?
Well, certainly there had actually already been a lockdown here at the White House earlier today, so the Secret Service, as it is normally, was on guard. But you're right. You had just mentioned the threats that had come out. Our Jeff Begay's reporting a couple of days ago that New York, Texas, Virginia, that there is heightened awareness there, that there has been chatter that perhaps there would be a threat on Monday, the day before the election. A senior FBI official told CBS News just yesterday, though, that law enforcement here in the U.S. is, quote, vigilant and well postured to deal with any attacks or any threats against the U.S. here at home. Before he left the fair, Donald Trump told reporters he is willing to spend $1 billion of his own money on his campaign if necessary, and that the campaign's budget is irrelevant. He said he makes $400 million a year, so, quote, what difference does it make? Jim?
Mark Albert, thank you.
Mark Albert is in our Washington bureau with more on that. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. The fair has certainly become a tradition for candidates seeking their party's nomination, but it doesn't always go smoothly for them as they try ever so hard to relate.
You must vote.
From the nation's first president to those who hope to be the next one, the Iowa State Fair has become a required stop to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
This has been the greatest state fair. That's a good idea. Good to be with you.
There are the grip and grins and the barbecues, serving up hamburgers as well as plenty of pork and policy.
You didn't fail me.
It's democracy on a stick, with an occasional side of silliness. Bob Dole gave coins to a monkey. Steve Forbes pet a sheep. Fred Thompson held a pig, and Al Gore posed with a bull. Barack Obama drove a bumper car with his daughter Sasha, while Martin O'Malley headed down the giant slide with his kids. And there are the awkward moments when candidates really step in it.
Corporations are people, my friend.
That quip gave millionaire Mitt Romney heartburn for the rest of his campaign. Not to be outdone, billionaire Donald Trump this year offered to give kids at the fairgrounds free rides on his helicopter. Fair organizers quickly put that idea out to pasture. Can it be a minefield?
Sure.
Steve Shigaris is the senior political editor at CBS News. Why do voters care what a candidate does at a state fair? Is it more style over substance?
I think there's actually more substance than you would give it credit for. So yes, we see all the pictures of them eating fried foods and walking the state fair, but at the same time there are a lot of really substantive questions that are asked, and there are issues that are discussed at these things. America's had 44 presidents. The Iowa State Fair has been around for 30 of them. Franklin Pierce was in the White House when the fair began in 1854. It took 100 years, though, for a sitting president to show up. Dwight Eisenhower did in 1954.
I am unbought and I am unbossed.
Today, candidates and contenders hold forth on the fair's venerable soapbox, hoping to start corralling votes.
This time, 17 Republicans
are coming to Iowa to ask for your vote.
It's kind of a big deal. The state's largest newspaper streams the soapbox speeches live.
And I'm running for president of the United States to rebuild the American dream.
What we need to do is restore the right to rise in this country.
Later today, the two national frontrunners, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, will be at the Iowa State Fair. No word if they'll step up onto the soapbox or what image or faux pas will still resonate by the time Iowans caucus on February 1st.
So do all these appearances by the candidates make a difference? Well, the Iowa Secretary of State posted a poll of the most anticipated fair attraction this year. Politicians' speeches came in fourth, right after the livestock and a cow made of butter. Benita?
I was going to say, you make us all want something on a stick right now, Mark Albert. Mark Albert in Washington, thank you.
We wanted to know who's doing them and how they go about taking the political temperature of the country. Mark Albert found out.
I'm calling on behalf of CBS News and the New York Times with a poll on current events.
When a pollster wants to know what America's thinking, these are the men and women who pick up the phone and ask.
Probably not vote or definitely not vote. Which one?
They're the voices on the other end of the line.
We have the site here. We have another site in Pennsylvania, up in Reading, Pennsylvania, and one more site in Las Vegas.
Iran Ben Porath is vice president at SSRS, a national polling firm with an office in this nondescript one-story building in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where callers persuade voters to share their views on issues, events, and candidates.
And then if the 2016 presidential election were being held today and the candidates were Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, Donald Trump, the Republican, Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, and Gary Johnson, the Libertarian, who would you vote for?
The latest national poll shows the race is tied at 46%.
No one knows who will win, and suspense sells.
How's business this year for you?
Election season is a good season for this industry. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in polling. And
no downtime.
No downtime. This place is fully booked.
Describirá usted su apoyo de Hillary Clinton.
The results of this CBS News poll, which ran 5 days and randomly called 13,000 people to get 1,700 willing to answer questions, made headlines the following week.
It shows Hillary Clinton leading Donald Trump 41 to 39.
45% of Trump voters say they are very enthusiastic about voting.
Sarah Dutton helped craft the more than 60 questions for that poll as director of surveys at CBS News.
When making a poll accurate, do you look at who you call?
That's certainly important, yes.
The order of the questions?
Absolutely.
The wording of the questions?
Yes.
Whose name comes first? Clinton Trump? Trump Clinton?
Half the time it will be Clinton Trump, and half the time it will be Trump Clinton. It's endlessly interesting to me to understand public opinion in this country, and I think, frankly, we contribute to a conversation about our country's social and cultural history. We provide an insight into how Americans are feeling about things that are happening around them, and I think that can play a useful role in understanding America.
It sounds like you consider yourself not just a pollster, but perhaps a storyteller.
Absolutely.
New polling from Quinnipiac University.
And there are more players than ever taking the field.
There's a brand new poll that has just come out. It's from Bloomberg. It actually shows that Trump is up in a four-way race.
Are there too many polls this year?
No, I don't think you can have too many high-quality public opinion polls.
Courtney Kennedy is the director of survey research at the Pew Research Center.
Polling serves at least two really important functions. One, it's a check on elected officials, so it prevents them from just asserting what public opinion is. Polls are designed to give each citizen an equal voice, and it's one of the only tools that we have to do that.
Today, pollsters' work is used by a growing number of election forecasters, many of whom aggregate polls and use other data to boldly predict each day who's going to win.
But like all predictions, they can change. Take Nate Silver's 538 election forecast. On August 14th, they gave Clinton an 89% chance of becoming the 45th president. 6 weeks later, though, her chances had dropped to 54%. Over the same time period, the New York Times upshot had Clinton's chances slide from 87% to 69%.
The large majority of voters at this point, probably are pretty much locked in.
When it comes to election forecasting, though, few have predicted the way the winds would blow on Election Day better than Alan Abramowitz. He's a political science professor at Emory University in Atlanta. His model, called Time for a Change, has correctly predicted every winner of the popular vote since 1988. He's 7-0.
This is a prediction that's made several months before the election, so I'm not using any of the horse race polling that comes after that.
Abramowitz's model factors in only 3 things: presidential approval rating, GDP economic growth, and how long the incumbent's party has been in power.
One can accurately predict the outcome without taking into account the candidates or the campaigns.
This year's Time for a Change predicts exactly that, a win for outsider Donald Trump.
The online polls seem to have us winning.
But Abramowitz actually thinks this is the year his streak finally ends.
This is not an election like a normal election where we have offsetting candidates and campaigns. So I would expect in the end that Donald Trump is going to underperform.
But for traditional pollsters, it's not about picking the winner.
In our poll, we ask if the election were being held today.
It's a snapshot.
It's a snapshot. It's not a prediction. It is a snapshot in time at this moment in time where the race stands.
But if you don't trust the predictions or the polls, you could always try following the Bulls and the Bears. Since World War II, the performance of the S&P 500 in August, September, and October of a presidential election year has correctly predicted the winner by party 15 out of 18 times. And with the closing bell on a wild campaign season just 5 weeks away, these pollsters know there's a lot on the line.
Your answers and your opinions are very important to us.
For CBS This Morning Saturday, Mark Albert, Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Wow.